you've given us a brilliant, detailed description of this young offenders prison and how it sounds to me like the abuse that they've done to you might have pushed you to the point of contemplating suicide. Did you
Yeah.
were you contemplating suicide at this point?
Yeah, I was very suicidal. I was it's kept in that segregation unit for so long.
How long?
I was in and out of there for a period of 13 months. But even when I went back to the wing, I was banged up for 24 hours a day on the wing anyway. So
Yeah.
it was just the same,
So they
really.
targeted you for this abuse.
And what one of the things that was affecting the deterioration of my mental health, because I identified with it from one of your videos, was this cell. I'll never forget it. B213, the corner cell. It was the second or third day I was in the cell. I remember turning the light off with the telly on. So I just had the light from the telly. I got these windows with all this air, this cold air coming through. This really old, decaying cell with just bricks, this steel toilet, poor plumbing, like I said. And I remember turning the light off, and I remember smoking a hash joint and just watching the telly. And I remember hearing, and I thought, what's that? So I jumped up, turned the light on, and I saw a cockroach. It must have been 2.5 inches long, like that, really thick and wide. And it was just horrible seeing it. And in my mind, I thought, that's come under my door. So, and then I clocked that I saw other people blocking their doors up. So I blocked the door up with newspaper. I got my brush and flicked it out, covered up my door, and then I turned the light off again, sitting there watching the telly on my bed. And then 2 minutes later, I heard, and I got up, and there was another two of them. And just seeing them, it was just, oh, it's just horrible because they're so big. And this time, I flicked them out the door, laid back down, but I couldn't relax because of the visual memory of seeing these horrible creatures. And then so again, 2 minutes later, after I turned the light off, this time when I turned the light on, they were everywhere. It was like there was a nest in there. They were on the walls, all coming out the side of the toilet. They were coming in the window, and the whole cell was just crawling with them. So I had two options. And it reminds me of when you tell your stories and you say, right, this is a situation where you have 2 or 3 options and none of the options are good. So I've got 2 options. I can smash the cell up, and then I have to endure all the stress and the physical pain of them all coming in on me and getting attacked by the officers and dragged all the way down to the sec. The only way I can get out of this cell, they're not going to move me. You can't make them requests there. They run that place. You don't have a say in these things. They're not going to move me to another cell. So I've got 2 options. I can either just stay in there, or I can smash the cell up and go down to the isolation unit again. So I decided to stay in there. And I used to I moved the bed because it wasn't bolted down. I moved it into the middle of the cell, blocked up all the holes, blocked up the door, blocked up the thing. And I used to just lay like that with the light. The light used to be on 24 hours a day. I never used to turn the light off, and I would just be like that under the sheet and just hardly ever slept. I would sleep for an hour, half an hour, 2 hours, and just never slept. And that was really affecting. And, I was in that cell for 2.5 years in that cell.
Grief.
2.5.
So you were thinking about killing yourself then, with lack of sleep?
When I was thinking about killing myself was when I was in the segregation unit. They kept doing all these stupid things to keep me in there. They were intimidating me. They made me believe that they were going to kill me and cover it up. And they used to taunt me, laugh at me, shake their keys. My wrists, my body was so weak. I was so skinny and deteriorating physically, psychologically. I was paranoid. I was losing my mind. These long periods of isolation, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, month after month, of being banged up for 24 hours a day. and no music. All they'd let you have would be a prison Bible and prison toiletries. That's all they would let you have down there. And what there was one time they put me on one of these stupid kangaroo court adjudications for some bullshit. I can't even remember what it was, and I I was so angry with this officer that I wanted to attack him. If you attack an officer in Aylesbury, it's game over for you. And I remember coming out of the adjudication, and I went like that to him. And as soon as I went like that, they all just jumped on me, and they dragged me into this cell on the bottom landing, this freezing cold concrete cell. And they broke both my wrists. They smashed my ribs in. They were kicking me in the face. There must have been, the whole room was full up with officers, about probably 15 of them. They were kicking me, kneeing me, punching me in the head. I had long hair. They ripped all my hair out. They stripped me naked. They were all laughing and taunting me as they were doing it. And then they put me up against the back wall with my hands up there. And when they bend your wrists and you scream and they do it more, it's like torture, because they're doing it because you're screaming, they're doing it more. And they just put me through this, control and restraint, if it's done properly, doesn't even hurt if it's done properly. But what they were doing was really brutal, and they beat me. And they kept me naked while they were all standing there laughing at me for what seemed like forever, really. But I think it was about 15, 20 minutes. This whole episode was about half an hour. And they left me in the cell, and my wrists were already sore. And what they used to do, they used to do this twice a day at lunch and tea time. They would say, "You're too violent." They say, "You're too violent to see anybody." So they wouldn't let you see anybody. And they wouldn't let you come out of that room. So they would put your dinner in the cell next door. Then they would put shields on and hats and riot gear. And they'd just open a flap and say, "Stand at the back wall, stand at the back wall." And you'd like, you're pleading with them.
Yeah.
In the other younger thing, you'd give it a bit of mouth. But this place, you pleaded with them, please, like, I don't want any trouble. And then they'd just storm in the cell, throw you on the floor, squash you into the corner with the big plastic shields, squash you into the corner, get your hands, bend you up, take you into the next cell, throw you in the cell, all run out, and they'd do that to you twice a day to feed you. So I became really weak, psychologically weak. My mental health was deteriorating. They'd ripped off my hair. I kept it in my shoe because there was so much of it, and I kept it as evidence. And I started writing down what they were doing to me. I started writing it all down. And I remember being on that one's land, and I think it was summertime now. I was dehydrating. I had no running water. I would get 2 hot drinks a day that they'd bring in. Other than that, I had nothing to drink. So I ended up having to drink the toilet water. And these toilets are like disgusting, just absolutely all like scaling up the side, all green. And I ended up having to drink the toilet water just to hydrate myself. There's no air in the cell. There's no window. The windows don't open. There's just little holes, but they're all blocked up. And I'm dripping with sweat, just losing weight, deteriorating in the cell. And I remember just being so scared and terrified in there. And I remember ripping the sheet, and there was nowhere really to hang the sheet. The only place to hang the sheet was on the taps. And I remember putting the noose around my neck and tying it onto the taps and just sitting there with it like round my neck. I still remember it, but it is. I don't think I wanted. I think I wanted. I did want to die, but I just didn't. I didn't have the ability in the cell to actually go through with it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, it's just a horrendous experience at Aylesbury, awful. I had nightmares for 10 years afterwards. Even now, so I was 18 then, I'm now 36. If anybody's behind me when I'm out on the street, just walking around or just going about my daily business, I can't tolerate at all anyone behind me.
Yeah.
Because they would always jump me from behind and grab me, and that's still with me. I still have that today. And when I'm walking the street, I'll move over and let people pass me. I can't have people behind me.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it has been it was a traumatizing experience. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, covered in sweat, thinking there's 15 prison officers there. I'd see their faces. I still remember their names. I still remember their faces. I went to court against them in Oxford. And interestingly, on YouTube, there is a video of Aylesbury Young Offenders Institution, and it is actually one of the only UK prison documentaries which will quite accurately show what it's like in there. If you watch that video, you'll just see on the cameras the gang fights.
What's it called on YouTube? Do you know? I'll put it in the description box for the viewers.
HMP Aylesbury.
Okay.
But it's not actually an HMP. HMP means adult prison. It's HMYOI, Young Offenders Institution Aylesbury.
Yeah.
But you see the gang fights, you see officers punching inmates.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple of faces, a couple of officers on that I remembered saying to the documentary maker, yeah, we really care about, the prisoners. We just want to deliver care.
Yeah.
But it does give you quite an accurate reflection of what the prison is actually like. And like I said, I believe, Shaun, that documentary is so accurate because if you take a film crew into Aylesbury, you can't avoid it because there's 15 alarm bells a day. So you're going to get loads of juicy footage, even going in there for 24 hours.
Wow.